Hi, I'm Micah Kershner with Heartland Payment Systems. Today we're at Ava Lounge in New York City. We happen to be just north of Times Square and immediately south of Central Park, which is just, well, 4 blocks to the north of us. We're here today to talk about my journey with Heartland Payment Systems. I've been here 6 years, and later on we're going to be chatting with Christine Armitage and discussing specifically how I was successful with Heartland, how you can be successful with Heartland, and also how you're able to make money with the new national account program. We have a national account sales program today that we didn't have a year ago, and it is a great opportunity for RMs to make a lot of money through a simple referral program. Now, today, again, we're in New York. I moved here just over 6 years ago. Actually, I moved to Brooklyn. Moved in with my brother. Prior to moving to Brooklyn, I was living in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, Brazil, working in sales and marketing for a Brazilian private postal service. I came here in 2003 during a recession. Wanted to work in the international sector using my contacts in Brazil, using my language skills. I do speak Portuguese fluently, and I wanted to exploit that. The obvious industries to work in, which were finance and consulting, were retracted. People were getting fired. There was no opportunity. Didn't really know what to do. I had gone to college and majored in economics, so I understood and understand numbers fairly well. So I was looking for work. I spent a month or so interviewing on Monster.com, following all these different channels that we use when we're looking for work, and found that sales jobs were open. That was about it. So I thought about going back to school. My father's an attorney, and really thought hard about becoming a lawyer. And it was funny because I had actually had the conversation with my dad. You'd think that, a father he's good at what he does and has a law firm that would like to have a son that would come up and take over. And you kind of see how a father would want that. And when I went to talk to mine about it, he said, Micah, no. He said, go into sales. Go into sales. You don't have to go to law school. You don't have to spend all the money. You can sell. If you can sell, you're going to make a lot more money than you could ever do as an attorney. Because once you can sell, effectively, you're a businessman. And Heartland gives you that opportunity. It gives you the opportunity to run your own business. It requires you to invest in it. It requires constant vigilance. But you can make a significant amount of wealth for you, for your family, by sticking to it, treating it like a business, and continuing to invest. We went out, my TM and I, in Brooklyn, to a densely populated area that had just a lot of small businesses, just one after another, after another, after another. None of them selling very much of anything, but just a lot of small businesses. What that meant was there were a lot of business owners. There were a lot of people that you could go in and talk to on the spot, and they'd be there, and you could have them tell you no. And you didn't feel so bad because the account really probably wasn't worth much of anything anyways. So there was not much of a loss there. But they could tell you no, and I wanted to hear no. I wanted to hear no because that was part of the learning process. And when I was in front of somebody that I could make real money on, I wanted to be able to respond to that no. So I'd keep track of all these different no's that I got from all these different merchants, and I'd go in and find the answer to it, and I'd find the way around it. At that point, I decided to crank it up a little bit and start actually getting in front of the prospects that I want to be in front of, and had a first taste of success with a hardware store in Brooklyn called Duty Home Center. Duty is that way in Brooklyn. They're still with us today. It was a 2-location deal, and worth, I don't know, about $8,000 in margin. We eventually got their gift cards too. They're happy Heartland customers. A week later, I got my first paycheck, $4,000. Well, that was pretty slick. And I was at that time 24 years old. $4,000 paycheck. That was pretty cool. It gave me the confidence to keep going. It gave me the confidence to know I could do this, and it gave me the desire to build my business. How did I build my business? Well, all good business people, they started by going into debt. They started by spending money. So I went out, I applied for a credit card. I applied for a Circuit City credit card. I got myself a nice desktop computer, got a bunch of memory in the thing, I got a PDA, and I got a version of this CRM program that I was using at the time, called ACT. I don't know if it's still available on the market. It's what I used, and I, got a book on ACT for Dummies, something like that. Spent some time going through that, figured out what I needed to do to that program to just customize and tweak it a little bit to the needs of Heartland, to the needs of me selling for Heartland, and I did that, got it set up. Then I needed data, so I went into Duns & Bradstreet, I went into Reference USA, and downloaded record after record after record. And I also went to things like the Chain Store Guide, trying to identify groups of chains, groups of restaurants. Groups are great, chains are great. It's one sale and you get 5 deals. Very effective. Stay on top of chains. So I went to chains, high volume independent restaurants. Came home, I had a whole bunch of data. Now what you got to do with that data is you got to sort the data. You can't just take 10,000 leads and put it into the system and start calling them, because there's a lot of junk in there. There's a lot of junk in some of these business directories. So you got to go through, you got to clean it up. You got to make sure that they're in the right area code. I use 212. 212 is the area code of New York City. You also have to define, for example, their sales figures, things of that nature. In New York, you probably want to stay away from a Chinese takeout. There's not going to be very much volume in a Chinese takeout in New York. So you go through and you do your best you can to filter out, pull the weeds, and went from, I don't know, 8,000, 10,000 leads. I narrowed it down to about 2,000 that I considered my targets. Those leads, those records had, the name of the owner, the name of the restaurant, identified chains of owners, had fax numbers, email addresses, and obviously their physical addresses. So I would take that and I would send out a lot of letters. I would be going, emails, letters, and so on. Maybe do several volleys of, maybe 600 a month. I'd send those out, and I'd actually get people to respond to me. I suppose the response rate I got was on the line of maybe 2% response rate, where I'd actually get an inbound call, which I thought was pretty good. And an inbound call is obviously a warm lead. Send out 600 letters, 600 emails, and get 2% response rate. That means that I got 12 meetings. So I spent time sending those letters out. Immediately after I did that, I would follow up with phone calls immediately. I would go through that list, and I would obviously have it prioritized. Who are my hottest targets, top to bottom, and I'd start making the calls and say, hey, did Billy Bob there? I'm calling. I sent him a letter yesterday. Just want to make sure he got it. See if he had any questions. And I found that to be very effective for me in terms of prospecting. That also led me to my first taste of success after I put this mechanism together, that I had the machine to manage my time and to manage my contacts and my prospects. Got that in place, and I got my targets identified, went after them in short order. I was able to close a deal. It was a chain. Granted, they've got different names and such, but it was 5-6 locations, I think I closed along the lines of $15,000 in margin. This happened, about a month after I got my CRM in place. From there, and it's actually interesting, is that merchant just happens to be over to the left of us here, over my left shoulder, and is still with us today. What got to be interesting about that is, I learned a lesson. One is that I can prospect, figured out how to do it. The other is I asked for a referral. And the merchant, Mario, gladly gave me a referral. Very happy to do it. He referred me to the controller of a lounge where I stand today. That brings me to referrals. A referral network, you can make your money a lot of different ways, but you always got to have new prospects coming in. You got to be filling up that pipeline. So you can do that through your own cold calling, through your own efforts, going out and spreading good news. But you can also build referral networks. You can get a lot of people talking about you to the prospects that you want to be talking to. And that's a very effective tool, because if you are able to build out a referral network, you're able to build out force multipliers. You got 10 people talking to Heartland, talking about you, trying to help you out. The deals start coming in. My success in sales with Heartland has largely been due to my ability to build out referral networks and referral relationships that are beneficial both for me, but even more importantly, beneficial to my referral partners. If it weren't beneficial to my referral partners, they would never deliver me business. It's a give and take, and you must be the first to give, and you got to be generous. It's the way it works.